And I know that Mr. Botox and his daughter Marilyn definitely agree to that. As you know, Trooper Patel was unable to move from the path of the vehicle and was subsequently struck. All of this occurred within mere seconds. It sounds a lot longer when I'm reading it. But all of us at the Florida Highway Patrol are extremely proud of Trooper Patel, his instinctive reflex to selflessly push Mr. Botox out of harm's way, out of the path of that vehicle. We like to think that all of our troopers would have reacted the same way. Trooper Patel's act of heroism is to be commended. He is a hero. I'd like to read part of an email I received several days ago from a gentleman in Phoenix, Colorado, actually. This was one of many emails that I've received in the last few days from all over the country. Here's what the email said, part of it. He said, I recently received a news update on my phone and came across a very touching story about Trooper Patel. He is nothing less than a hero for his instinctive reactions and a very good person. As you know, you cannot be taught to react a certain way in less than a second. He made an instinctive move that shows who he is as a person in a life-threatening situation. And he saved a life while sustaining substantial injuries. This strikes at the core of us as people and really touched me. I think all of us couldn't have said it better. To date, the Florida Highway Patrol has lost 46 troopers in its nearly 80-year history that were killed in the line of duty. Florida state troopers risk their lives every time they come to work to protect and serve the citizens of this great state of Florida. We stand here today grateful that Trooper Patel was not more seriously injured, and he is able to be here today along with his beautiful family. We have received many emails and phone calls from across the country wishing Trooper Patel speedy recovery and commending his heroic actions. We thank our partners and citizens who quickly came to Trooper Patel's rescue following the crash. Namely, we appreciate the service contractors from Jorgensen, Tri-County Towing, and the Florida Department of Transportation Road Rangers who were the first to run up there and render aid. A thank you to the Martin County Fire Rescue, who initially treated Trooper Patel on the scene and transported him to St. Mary's Medical here in West Palm Beach. Finally, we'd also like to express our gratitude for the excellent care and treatment Trooper Patel received while at the hospital, to include the trauma doctors, nurses, and all of St. Mary's staff. They did an incredible job. Now, I'd like to call up Mr. Ronnie Botex, who would like to say a few words.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Morning. Yeah, my name is Ronnie, R-O-N-Y. Last name is Botex, B-O-T-T-X. I would love to thank every state troopers, every law enforcement, man and woman, who's there for our service. Also, special hero on the name of my family, for Trooper Patel. Act so quick to save my life today. I'm 65 years old. I never been to any accident in my life, first times. And I say, is that enough? No, it's not. There's more to go. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Yes, sir. And God bless you. And we are not the friends, we are family. Yes, sir. Not number one, number two, family. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you all.
She's a little shy. This is the daughter of Mr. Patel, Mr. Botex.
Hello, good morning. My name is Marilyn Botex Wallace. I want to start off by saying thank you, Trooper Patel, on behalf of my entire family. If it wasn't for you being there that day, my father wouldn't be there. It means so much to myself and my family, and I'm forever thankful and grateful for you.
Trooper Patel. We can't let him run off. That's why everybody's here.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Too many cameras. We have 5 in our patrol car. I feel that's a lot, but I'd like to thank everybody for being here. I'm really grateful that Mr. Botek's not injured. Started off as a first crash and ended up in a second crash. So I'm hoping, no more crashes for you. But we'll be there with you at all times, sir. Okay? Just want to go ahead and thanks everybody that's in here, my zone partners, my supervisors, my chain of command. Everybody has been grateful. They all came in and showed their gratitude and thanks at the hospital. Really appreciate it. Didn't let me sleep at all, but thank you so much. I'd like to thank my God. All the gods are the same for me. I pray to every God. So thanks God. Thanks my Guruji in India for their blessings, my elders in India, my grandparents in India for their blessings. I'd like to thank my wife. She was there within a few minutes, and thanks for bringing her over. I don't remember her now, but that's a different story. My parents, who were so concerned, my mom was the first one on scene because she was dropping one of my sister-in-laws, and they were both on scene, the first one. So I'd like to thank them. I'd like to thank both my brother. One's older, I kind of look like him, and the younger one just fell off the chart. Yeah. I'd like to thank one of my sister-in-laws here. The other ones had to work. She was so upset she had to work today. So I'd like to thank Major Chandler once again, and my entire FHP family, all my brothers and sisters in FHP family. Everybody has been grateful. Everybody has been grateful. I'd like to thank the American Indian Association that I have in Port St. Lucie that I work with. Everybody has been blessing me with their prayers, so I'd like to thank them. I'd like to thank the entire law enforcement family, PBSO, Martin County. They were all there. They came and see me at the hospital. Everybody, every law enforcement I could think of that I could remember at that time was there. Other than that, I don't remember anybody. I'd like to thank my lifeline on the road, which is the FHP dispatch, who communicated with Martin County SO and get everything started. So I really appreciate that. Appreciate the Martin County Fire Rescue for being, from what I heard, they were jumping medians. So I was really grateful from there. St. Mary's Hospital staff, the nurses were excellent. I don't remember the trauma doctors. I was in trauma at that time, I guess, so I don't remember them. But thanks the doctors as well for taking care of me. Thank you, Jurgensen staff, as well as the road ranger, as well as the tow truck driver who ran up. Were the first one to see me do Olympic-style roll. I did not land perfect, unfortunately. Didn't get a 10, but I got a 0 on that one. I got to practice more often, I guess, at home. I'd like to thank everybody who had sent prayers to the dispatch, to the major, to me, all all over the country. It was really grateful. The social media has been excellent. Just can't thank enough. Thanks Channel 12 for being there to record the whole incident. Otherwise, I would have had a blank space in my memory that just couldn't be put together. Just one thing, just send me another copy of it for the whole thing so I could frame it. You know. But thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, God. Chaplain, sir, if you can, please give prayers to everybody so we could all be prayed one more time. It's okay with you, sir?
He was a lot quieter in the hospital.
Thank you. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this event today so that we can celebrate and commemorate this heroic act, but also to thank you for the protection that you provided him instead of getting worse injuries than he was. We thank you for Mr. Botex and how you protected him. We ask that you would be with all of us as you always are, to give us the protection and the guidance that we need to do our duty. We thank you for all of those who have shown support, care, and love at this time to the Patel family. And we ask this all in your precious and holy name. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Back to you, sir.
Pretty much concludes, I guess, if you have any questions, you can ask them now, or we can go up, we'll go out in the lobby or outside. If you want to do one-on-one interviews or anything. Is that good? Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
I know, the entire thing.
Dude, like in front of their face.
That's the point. That's the point. What's the point of what they do?
Dude.
And I know I'll hear about it.
It's like,
And our off manager will say something about it.
Hi, Ian.
How are you?
all approved.
That's right. Who do you hire?
Yeah. Are you bored yet?
No, because when I went to Hawaii like April,
Oh.
and then I was learning how to
So it's
play.
not real yet.
A muffled sound. We still had no indication of a major attack. By this time, the whole base was alerted. We knew something was amiss because there was black ash and smoke. In distance, there was continued bombardment. All kinds of shooting began from the ship to the harbor. With our anti-aircraft fire, small and arms fire. When we reached the barracks, we all huddled up against the wall. Then in the next half hour or so, all hell really broke loose. The most frightening thing I can recall, how much noise these bombs made when they're hit, especially when they struck our heads. Everything was rocking. By this time, the ground was shook. We couldn't tell from whether they had picked out the planes lined up the airport, flight lines. But we knew they hit the hangars. The reason they hit the hangars and flight lines because we want the airplanes to get up. Airplanes were overhead. Crisscrossing here can feel at low altitude, just blowing the hell out of everything, including the barracks. The planes flying so low, but also they're using their cannons and machine guns. While all this is going on, somebody came to the idea, hey, don't you think it's about time we get some ammunition for our weapons? we decided to go to the ammunition shack, the edge of the runway. When we got there, we ran into the supply sergeant. His name's Roy P. North. He said, I don't have the key to the padlock to open up the supply room. I didn't get orders from the captain. I said, oh, you all right? You see what's happening out there? So we finally convinced him one way or another to open the shack, and he did. He finally convinced him, but he started the issue as limited amount of night.
All right, everybody, we're back in our newsroom here at Fox 5 DC. Demetra, our intern, is joining me for a second. But hey, today is a big day. Also, it's December 7th, this Friday, and it is, of course, the anniversary of Pearl Harbor today. So 77 years, yeah, and we're already seeing a lot of sort of memorial events coming down in our, coming into control room, into our video stream. So we want to bring you some of those today. And actually today, it's interesting, one of the Navy sailors who they've just recently identified will be interred at Arlington National Cemetery. So we're going to bring you that stream as well in the early afternoon. And so jumping right over to that stream in a second, quickly I want to see what Demetra is working on today. What are you up to?
I'm in the midst of making my reel.
Oh,
I just
great.
got my footage from yesterday,
Look at you.
Wednesday. I went to the Redskins practice and got to interview a few players.
Awesome.
Got to sit on the press release.
Great.
So
a lot of sports news coming down today, especially with the 2 injuries for the
we're down 2
quarterback. The Redskins are going through a lot. And actually, speaking of sports, the Washington Nationals baseball team, talking about their new pitcher today later in the afternoon. So we'll bring you that from Nats Park, I believe, live later in the afternoon.
That's exciting.
Which
I'll be
is
watching
cool.
from home.
Yeah, I know. You're just kind of on the tail end of your day. But guys, let us know what you're up to and where you're watching from on this Friday. We are going to jump over to the Intrepid Museum, where it looks like a veteran is actually speaking about the anniversary of Pearl Harbor. And we'll jump right into some of those commemorative ceremonies today, and then some more from NASA today. It's the anniversary of the Hubble telescope being repaired. Wow. I know, it's 25 years since 1993 when it was repaired to essentially photograph things that are 55, million light years away. It's crazy. And it's insane.
That was a long time ago to have that technology.
Right.
It's crazy to think how much it's evolved.
Totally. And how they've changed it over the years. So they repaired it back then, and now it's, at its complete modern state. So there's a little thing from NASA TV that we'll bring into you. And President Trump is also in Kansas City, Missouri later. So we'll jump into some of his remarks as well. So let's go right over to this Intrepid Museum, remarks from a veteran and continuing to honor the heroes from Pearl Harbor on this 77th anniversary. Pretty crazy.
Crazy. Time flies.
Then the planes would pass, come back and resume what they were doing. Then another. It seemed to have no end, like eternity. Who say to repeat the drill? The attack that hits will. The attack hit us with a shock and awe. The first time I felt fear when we started across the hangar area, I looked and saw the planes coming down. That was really a time I felt really fear. I felt anger. Of course, the anger said, oh boy. The longer the way went on, the anger I got. There is no way you can get your frustration out on anybody. Then they told us to take the men and the trucks in the place called Red Hill, a depot in Alamo Crater. Alamo Crater was an old extinct volcano. Matter of fact, that's where we kept the ammunition in the volcano. Both the Army and Navy used to store high explosives. Everybody pictured a volcano coming up to a small cone, looks like on a picture postcard. But this was a huge volcano. I don't know how far across it was, but it had a huge valley. All around the side of the valley into the wall of the volcano itself, there was lava caves. It had built by the Army and engineers. This is where the munitions were kept and stored. That's where the headquarters was. The headquarters was in the crater for the powers to be at that time. They were all there. This is where they took us that night. We hadn't had much to eat. Anything. All we had was water that day. Now it's dark. Everybody's tired. And I guess that fear makes you even more tired, or whatever you. If it is your fear, your mouth is dry, your whole system is just keyed up. The point where you just can't even move. You feel angry and frustrated. There's nothing you're able to do to take any sort of retaliation at all. They put us in a crater, not in caves, just in a crater. It was overgrown with vegetation. It was all overrun with wild pigs. There were probably more wild pigs shot that night than any night in the history of Hawaii. To top this though, it began to rain. Dark and mean. It was just steady horror. The only shelter we had were little two-man pup tents. You might as well cover yourself with newspaper, as have to one of them, and it rained heavily and steadily. You know, you passed to say, who goes there? Well, there's no hall, who goes there? You heard noise, you shot. I might give you an eye. When you take a perimeter, you put guards on guard duty outside the perimeter, and you have to say before you let you back in, we had a password. Railroad. Why do you have railroad as your password? Japanese can't say they're ours. That was our, if you didn't know the password, you didn't get back in again, let me tell you that. Because you couldn't take the chance to know who anybody was. You heard a noise, you shot. Then you listened to see if anybody's there at all. Nobody slept that night. When we did this crater, we had chow there, bread and coffee. That's it, nothing else. You didn't go outside because of a small orange fire all night long. Everybody just huddled up down into those pup tents with this rain coming down. There was more fear settling in after it was quieting down. They started to realize what had happened. The next day we stayed till late one afternoon, and then we returned, striking back at the Hickam field. Now everybody didn't go back together. When an officer gave you an order to go ahead, take a track back, you would take your men back. When you're back to Hickam town, by this time, we realized what really happened. There was awful loss of life, a great amount of devastation. Japan did it. Japan did it. No one had declared war, but we knew the war was on. This is when my friend John Horan got killed that day. By the next day, the fires at Hickam had burned out themselves. But that wasn't the case at all at Pearl Harbor. I don't know how long after December 7th these fires continued to burn. The very next day, December 8, 1941, the United States declared war on Japan. Then on December 11, 1941, we declared a war on Germany. Then President Roosevelt said, December 7, 1949, will a day live in infamy. Out of 84,000 survivors of the attack at Pearl Harbor, 2,400 were killed. There was only about, and my friend here at Pearl Harbor survived, was only about 2,000 of us left. And I might say another thing to you. These are stats. 12 million men and women served in World War II. There's about 800,000 alive today. 400 of us die a day. 400 of us die a day. So pray for us. And thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless America.
Chick, James, the Pearl Harbor attack 77 years ago forever changed your life as it changed our entire country. And it brought together the American people into a nation wholeheartedly committed to victory in the Second World War. We can not only thank you enough for your service, we do pray for you. We are grateful to you every day, and we are so grateful that you allow us to carry on the legacy and to continue to inspire our youth with your stories. And thank you for that. We're honored to have everybody here, families, friends, to share this special day with us. At this time, please welcome to bless the ceremonial wreath, Rabbi Morris Barzilai.
Chick, thank you for those inspiring words. And This is my 5th or 6th year that I've been here. I couldn't be here last year, but my congregant, Dan Fruchter, was one of the Pearl Harbor survivors who helped to make sure this ceremony always took place. And I promised him before his death that I would come and be part of this because it is so important to remember. He always told me the motto of the Pearl Harbor Survivors Association was the words, "Keep America alert. Remember Pearl Harbor." So we come this day to do that. I always wondered why we use a wreath to mark a moment such as this. One explanation I discovered was that a wreath is a sign of peace. It was used during the Olympics in ancient Greece, a time that was declared a ceasefire. No war could happen during the Olympic Games. So a wreath is a symbol of hope because it counts on people not doing those things like sneak attacks when no one is ready. It says we are committed to strive for harmony in the world. A wreath also, I've been taught, is a sign of everlasting life. And so we use it as a time to remember those who died, who gave of themselves in service to the country. It is there for a time of hope for those who remain alive to share the stories, to inspire us, so that we can carry the message forward. And it is a time, a symbol of that possibility of melding the two. As we keep alert so that we can never fall victim again, we simultaneously hold on to the possibility of peace. So it is in that spirit that I ask everyone to please rise for this prayer over this symbol of peace and everlasting life. This holiday season, we remember the words of President Roosevelt on Christmas Eve, 1941, just weeks after the attack. And he asked that the nation pray, asking forgiveness for our shortcomings of the past, or asking for God's help in days to come. We need the divine guidance that we, the people, may be humble in spirit, but strong in the conviction of the right, steadfast to endure sacrifice, and brave to achieve a victory of liberty and peace. As we remember on this day, may we continue to commit ourselves to the mission that God has given us, to work for the day when all men and women of all faiths and beliefs shall live in peace. May we never forget the men we lost. May we always show gratitude for those who continue to show bravery and sacrifice in defending liberty and the virtues of freedom. May God bless us. May God bless America. And let us say, Amen.
Thank you very, very much. So we will be proceeding outside. Chicken Reverend Blakely will now lay a ceremonial wreath honoring those who lost their lives during the attack on Pearl Harbor. John McManus will play Amazing Grace, and Jim Malarkey will perform Taps. And once again, we are so grateful that you all joined us here today. Thank you.
All right, we're back in the newsroom, guys, after that commemoration of Pearl Harbor, 77 years. That was in New York City, actually, at the Intrepid Museum.
Right, we thought it might have been in Hawaii. I thought that only because of the
You're
waves.
right. Yeah.
Just as everything that had happened.
And where there will be a lot of memorial sort of ceremonies and happenings today because of the anniversary. So there's some really just insane stats that have come out of it, and the fact that they have now only re-identified people that have died after that attack. The three main boats, the USS Arizona, USS Oklahoma, and the USS Utah, they've only now sort of found and identified more people. And it was only recently that this agency was sort of in charge of doing that. And then they are interring that one sailor today at Arlington. So we're going to try to take that live in a couple hours. Right now, we are waiting on a little more of a local case. Did you hear about this? Real estate worker who went into this model home in Hanover, Maryland, so not too far from us, and was later found dead there.
This is a creepy story. I just heard of it. But there's like no evidence or no
information.
Details. It's super weird. It's lacking a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then we don't know, was this from a lover, or was he in a domestic relationship, or was it someone?
Or is it random?
Yeah.
Right. And so this is a really crazy case. It definitely has the potential to get, I think, even bigger than it is. Today, police are saying that they are announcing the arrest that was made. So we are going to show you that when it comes up in just a few moments here. We're just waiting on our photojournalist out there to kind of get us the signal. But again, this was a 30-year-old man, Stephen Bernard Wilson, discovered inside this home.
Do we know who found him? Like, was it a buyer?
Actually, we don't. It's not. There's not a lot of details, and he was discovered just after 5 p.m. Wednesday this week. And he's from Annapolis, discovered at the scene. They didn't say how he was killed, but that he was suffering from some sort of trauma. So that's all we know.
Scary.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, what are the odds, though? There's a murder in a model home.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that house won't sell now after this.
It's nuts.
Either.
We'll have to see. Yeah, again, like you said, it's a domestic situation. There's just someone knowingly sort of involved in sort of a private situation, or was this random? We'll have to see. So all that is coming up. We're going to show you some of the top stories of the day, though, including just a recap of all the honorings of former President George H.W. Bush and some of the other top stories that piqued our interest at our stations across the country. So take a look.
Passengers relieved to be on the ground in Burbank. During heavy rain Thursday, this Southwest 278 flight skidded off of the runway.
They did warn us. They said the track was going to be wet, and they said the braking would be hard. And to be honest, the landing was aggressive and was a little scary, but it wasn't too bad. But the thing was, there's this big bump at the end. We didn't know what happened until mud started coming down the windows, mud and grass.
The plane ended up in this space, the Engineered Material Arresting System, or EMAS. That area is specifically designed to stop the plane before it reaches the street. And in this case, it did exactly what it was designed to do.
That's crazy.
You can see our Skyfox shots of the plane's wheels sunk into the concrete.
It was more shocking coming off the plane and kind of seeing what happened than actually experiencing it.
Other passengers waiting to board their flights saw everything.
When the plane hit the runway, you could see by the way the tires hit the water that it swerved. They lost some control. And then it looked like the tires blew up or something.
No one was injured, but the accident temporarily stopped all flights, frustrating many.
Safety is the most important thing, of course, and I'm glad that everybody's trying to keep us safe, but at the same time, they should have had an alternative plan to keep a whole airport open.
Southwest flights were canceled for several hours, forcing many to rebook or find flights at other airports.
I'm just trying to rebook a flight from a different airport.
Pressures building on President Trump to take action against Saudi Arabia for the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, and it's coming from both sides of the aisle.
This is an open and shut case, it seems, just given what's said publicly. You'd have to willfully be wanting to ignore evidence out there to not know that he was involved.
Illinois Democrat Senator Dick Durbin says the Saudis must pay a price. We should formally expel the Saudi ambassador to the United States, given the Crown Prince's direct involvement in the kidnapping and murder of Jamal Khashoggi. The retiring Senate Foreign Relations chairman says the U.S. should be tough. After all, the Saudis need us.
We've got this out of kilter. Their relationship to us is far more important than our relationship to them. We know that. And yet, everybody's getting this all turned around.
On government funding and the fight over the border wall, Congress just kicked the can 2 more weeks to December 21st. So that battle should come right before Christmas.
We made a lot of progress on 75% of the appropriations. I'd like to conclude it. We've got maybe 2 more weeks, and let's go from there.
Today, the House Democratic leader said she's not willing to consider a DACA deal for some border wall funding. Nancy Pelosi's still trying to secure enough votes to be the next speaker, so she's taken a hard line.
Most of us, speaking for myself, consider the wall immoral, ineffective, inexpensive. That isn't how I would interpret a continuing resolution.
Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says President Trump is just trying to fire up his base.
So if President Trump wants to throw a temper tantrum and shut down the government over Christmas, over the wall, that's his decision.
That sets the stage for a meeting between President Trump, Schumer, and Pelosi next Tuesday. This issue of border security, homeland security funding is expected to be front and center. On Capitol Hill, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
On Friday, the special counsel probe and House Republican FBI investigation come to a head. Robert Mueller's team will submit memos documenting their allegations that former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort violated his plea agreement. Manafort's legal team argues the special counsel used strong-arm tactics to obtain information their client does not have or evidence that does not exist.
It's a terrible situation for Manafort himself. It's not a great one for the prosecutors either, because they really can't use him as a witness in any case against anybody.
Earlier this week, the special counsel filed the sentencing memo for former National Security Advisor Mike Flynn with heavy redactions. A similar effort to shield sensitive information is expected in the Manafort filing, and a separate sentencing memo for Michael Cohen, the president's former personal attorney. Court records show Cohen, who cut a deal last week over lying to Congress about a 2016 Trump-Moscow real estate project, has participated in 7 voluntary interview meetings with the special counsel's office. Legal observers predict the next few weeks will be telling.
If there aren't any new indictments, that would tell you that he's really preparing a report to deliver to the Congress about what his investigation has uncovered relative to the president and the campaign.
After withdrawing legal efforts to quash a congressional subpoena, former FBI Director James Comey is on Capitol Hill Friday for a rare closed-door interview under oath with the House Judiciary Committee. After controversial text messages from FBI agent Peter Strzok and FBI lawyer Lisa Page, Republicans predict hard questions on political bias in the Clinton email and Russia investigations.
There is a whole host of things that Mr. Comey knows and he's made statements on. Some of them haven't been consistent.
With the special counsel prosecuting Trump associates for lying, Republicans want the former FBI director to explain why he apparently did not pursue similar allegations against Hillary Clinton over her congressional testimony about her emails. The Comey transcript could be released as early as Saturday. The former director said the move is the closest he can get to a public hearing. In Washington, Catherine Herridge, Fox News.
This sounds like an extremely chill idea. The subway's in terrible shape. I love marijuana.
It's an unlikely pairing for a problem that appears to have no good solution and an issue that feels like a foregone conclusion here in New York State. Marijuana and the MTA.
I'm for fixing the subway in whatever way possible at this point.
The NYU Rudin Center for Transportation Policy and Management has proposed using the tax revenue from the legalization of marijuana to fix our failing subway system.
This is going to be necessary for us to stay afloat.
Rachel Weiss is one of the authors of the study. Their research answers a simple question, not what to do with marijuana revenue if it's legalized in New York State, but how to fix the world's largest metro system, one that carries 5.5 million people daily.
We've been treading water on this, you know. There hasn't been anything else proposed that doesn't cut into something else.
MTA head Andy Byford says the agency needs $40 billion over 10 years to modernize the system. Legalizing weed won't fix the problem entirely, but it may offset the need for a fare hike.
Projections from the State Department of Health ranging from $200 million to $700 million in revenue, depending upon our excise tax, depending upon how the price per ounce varies.
Other states have tried this, and they've found that weed is a cash cow. Washington state uses the money to offset health care costs and also fund a substance abuse program. Colorado and Maine use the revenue for education. New York might be the first to earmark infrastructure.
I would want the money to actually get to the subway rather than, hey, we had this great idea, we raised this money and it goes somewhere else.
And yet, despite the fact that 63% of New Yorkers support legalization, there are those concerned of the long-term effects.
Do not get people into drugs because you can't figure out another way to fix the subway.
Murder suspects Blake, Dickey, and Hunter Hill were sophomores at Fannin County High School with their entire lives ahead of them. The GBI tells Fox 5 that teens are charged with fatally shooting Justin McKinney and wounding Anna Franklin at a house on Elrod Lane. The stunning murder allegedly at the hands of such young suspects has shocked this community.
I understand it's a different world we live in now, but to be 15 and waste your whole life, it's just, that's shocking in and of itself.
Even more alarming, several parents and students at Fannin County High School say Dickey and Hill reported to school Tuesday morning like nothing ever happened.
I think it's kind of scary, especially since they go to our school. I think it's just a scary thought, thinking that happened just the day before and then they came into school.
The GBI is not ready to talk about motive or what led up to the shooting. They will not say whether the shooting was drug-related. They tell us the teen murder suspects are being held at a regional youth detention center while their schoolmates are still in disbelief that they are charged with murder.
I've saw them around school. I don't have any classes with them or anything, but you can just see them around school. You know they're there. They're really loud usually.
The presidency was a major milestone of his public service, and now George Herbert Walker Bush is at his final resting place in the same state where his political ascent first began. A historic sight as the 41st president was remembered at services in the Lone Star State. 21 fighter jets flying low over his presidential library, performing the Missing Man Maneuver, a tribute to his time in the Navy. Bush's casket arrived in College Station by train, making the 70-mile trip from Spring, Texas in a special car with windows, letting bystanders pay their respects by the thousands.
It's great for the country to do this sort of thing so more people can be a part of showing their respects and giving a tribute to this man.
He was a family man, and that really got to me. But the day began in Houston at the family's longtime church.
And lead us not into temptation, but do thee.
All right, we're going to break out of this top story of today to go right to that police news conference here in Maryland about the arrest that was made about that murder in the house in Hanover. Let's check it out.
And say a few words.
So I want to congratulate our police department, our detectives who've done a great job with this. When this murder took place, I got a text message from the chief saying this might be a tough one to get evidence on. And the fact that the community rallied and the community, which engages with the police department in Anne Arundel County, came forward with the evidence that we needed to close this case on the day that we read about it on the front page of our paper, makes me proud, and I think it makes all the citizens of Anne Arundel County proud. It's absolutely essential that community and the police department work together, and Chief Altamari has focused on this for years. And I think that's one reason why people are coming forth with evidence, and we need to continue that for unsolved cases. And we're just very proud that we've been able to solve this one. You know, it's terrible in our county when any murders take place. Gun violence this year has really shaken Anne Arundel County, and we've got a lot of work to do, but we're very proud. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are we afternoon yet? Good morning or afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I haven't looked at the clock in a little while. I want to apologize for us being a couple minutes late. That is my fault. I wanted to fully brief Mr. Pittman before we came out so that he was conversant with what we might talk about in here today. I got a couple of thank yous to say as the start of my very short comments today. I'd like to thank Mr. Pittman for having the faith in the detectives. When he said, I notified him the other night, his response was exactly what a police chief is looking for from his boss. It exuded confidence in our detectives, and it sent the message that he had faith in them. So, sir, thank you very much. And then I'd like to thank truly everybody involved in this case, from the patrol officers through every CID detective who went out, including our homicide detectives who worked about 31 hours straight on this case, our police academy recruits who some of you covered walking through the field on a grid search, our crime scene investigators, and our mobile clinicians and crisis intervention team, who, as always, are here to help both the family of the victim and our cops. The biggest thank you I have to say truly is to the community. What brought this case home in 31 hours was involvement from the community, was involvement from multiple people giving us pieces of the puzzle that let us do what we did through the wee hours of the morning last night and get a suspect in custody and put a case together. We still have a lot of work to do, and I'll ask you to forgive me for being a bit lacking in detail when you guys ask me questions in a couple minutes, because we still have a lot of work to do to ensure we get a conviction with our fantastic partners down at the state's attorney's office, who I should have also thanked earlier. Thank you to the community in the Hanover-Jessup area for coming forward and giving us those puzzle pieces. We would not have gotten this done in 31 hours without you. As your homicide detectives will tell you, we get 5 minutes to celebrate. 5 minutes. We celebrated already. It's time for us now to talk about what we have to do to bring justice to the rest of the victims who in 2018 have died in Anne Arundel County. We have 6 open homicide investigations. The victims in those cases are Aaron Lawrence, Jose Funes, Dante Simmons, Jasmine Adams, Partik Kumar, and Quentin Boynton. Their lives are just as sacrosanct as any other human being in this county. They mean just as much to us. And this victory that we brought the family today in Mr. Wilson's homicide is a great victory, but we still got work as a police department and community to do now to bring justice to the families of these victims. In 2 of those cases, I have announced a $10,000 reward already. As we go into the end of the year, as we get close to next year, I want to announce that we're putting $10,000 down on every one of the 4 remaining cases. In this case, I want to ask the community's help. This case that just came home because of the community. If $10,000 is a good motivator, I'm grateful for that. We need people to talk to us in these other 6 cases. You just might have the puzzle piece we need to bring justice to another family. I can't tell you what we know in each of the cases, but I can tell you that 1 or 2 puzzle pieces will bring several of them home. Thank you with that, and I'll take a couple questions.
Yeah, you guys in charging documents said that he used a long rifle or a long gun. Do we know the type of gun, model, name, anything like that?
I have to be circumspect, Phil, but I'll tell you it's not an assault rifle, okay? And let me leave it at that because I don't want to hurt the prosecution later.
Also, you said that he stole a cell phone and a laptop from the scene. Were any of those items recovered?
I'll say we found several items of physical evidence that did help us and will be continuing to help us moving forward.
Chief, have you heard from people in the trailer park there that he'd been walking around looking for information? Was this a planned event?
I think we saw evidence of premeditation. Yes, sir. It was planned. Ma'am.
Premeditation in terms of a personal connection or just a crime, premeditation of the crime?
Crime.
And if I may, Jackie, you mentioned the fugitive task force. Does that mean that the suspect was wanted on other crimes in this community or elsewhere?
I think it's fair to say that anytime we have a high violence crime and we're looking for a certain person, we put the Fugitive Task Force to work. They are extremely effective in hunting folks and finding them. So that's what we're talking about when we do that. Sir?
Beyond premeditation, what can you tell us about the motive? Did Mr. Wilson know his assailant?
I think robbery was the motive. Robbery was the motive.
And should other real estate agents and sales marketing agents be concerned?
We have no indication that other model homes, real estate offices, et cetera, are going to be targeted. I think impulse met opportunity in this instance. And while I won't say that real estate agents shouldn't be vigilant and concerned, as I think everyone should for their safety, we have no indication that there's a particular threat to the industry at this time.
Chief, 18-year-old from Baltimore City. Is there a reason why he was?
He was found in Baltimore City. He's from Jessup.
He is from.
Thank you.
He's from Jessup.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Happy holidays to you all, and God bless the family.
Do you have a history with this young man? I know you do with his brother. Do you have? He's just 18.
I think we're still working on all that stuff, sir. Thank you. Be safe.
I will email everybody on the email list the name, birth date, charges, correct spelling of everything. As far as the mugshot, we are not releasing it right now. I hope to have it to you guys before you air tonight, but I can't promise you that. Homicide's still doing a little bit of stuff with that. So I will get you guys a mug as soon as we can. But thank you all so much for coming out, and yeah.
Can you also email include the names of the 6 other open victims?
Absolutely. Yep, sure can. Yep, absolutely. Yes, I will email you guys the spelling too, because I don't have, he took all my notes with him.
Can you just say what the name was?
It was Augustiniak. Oh, there we go, Mark has it. Dillon, Dillon, and then Nicholas, common spelling. 18-year-old, yeah, he was from the 7800 block of Clark Road in Jessup, which is actually walking distance to the crime scene.
7800 block of
Clark Road, and that's considered Jessup, but it's right through the wood line there.
And once again, his full name, Dillon Nicholas
Augustiniak. Diniak. I don't have the spelling in front of me, sir. Yeah, I'll email it to everybody. I don't want to give you the wrong spelling. All right, thank you all so very much. Appreciate it. Yes, of course you can.
Standing by, we hear you loudly. Perfect. Yeah, that just mean, I probably would need it. They would appreciate that, keep it on. Okay, thank you, Wizzy. You hear that?
don't have to be that far back. Seriously, I don't like to stand that far back. Get up to that yellow line, at least. Thank you, Ross.
Are you here? Are you on live spot? Here, you can get on me. Are you on live 4? They're talking to you. They're get Charlie. They're really anxious. Oh, do you want to be on? Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Oh, your face got it.
Oh, geez, I'm sorry. Hang up on that.
I was like, somebody's calling me. Martin wants to FaceTime.
I don't really want to FaceTime.
I was like, Martin, I'm right here. You don't have to put a filter on the phone. We're at 18 minutes down there. 11:20. We're not live on Facebook, so we're live on the air.
I think that's right. I mean, we're gonna be. Once we're live, we're staying live until President Trump speaks.
Oh, I just don't want to be messing with the camera on Facebook.
We're simultaneous.
I don't want to have anybody dropping F-bombs out here. Right. This crew's pretty rowdy.
Yeah, right. Fucking right. You like this George Carlin 7 dirty work right now? Mike's gonna kill this whole 20 minutes by himself. Good morning, Mike. We're expecting the President to land here at KCI around 11:15, 11:20 this morning, so a little bit delayed than his 10:55 original arrival time. But we are here on the tarmac, and we want to stand over and kind of show you kind of a welcoming committee that has just come out of the hangar. They're set up here alongside a barricade, and this will be right where Air Force One kind of taxis over and lands, and where the aircraft will drive up and get President Donald Trump down off the airplane and into his motorcade and back down to the Western Crown Center where we saw Mike Broussard give his speech there at the Safe Neighborhood, Project Safe Neighborhood conference. Some of the folks here waiting are kind of invited guests, maybe of airport employees or police employees in the area who wanted to see here to see the president with their own eyes. They have been here.
Okay, this is a live look on the tarmac in Kansas City, actually, where President Trump is speaking today. It's some sort of project on safe neighborhoods. And I'm joined by Steve Shenevy, by the way, from the morning. And Allison's coming over. Hey, Al. So anyway, we're waiting on those remarks. That'll be later in the afternoon. But we just heard from police in Maryland about the story from this morning that you guys were talking about, the invasion into the model home in Hanover, Maryland. Turns out the arrest was made. It's an 18-year-old male from Jessup, Maryland. They think it was a robbery, but basically they were sort of touting how the community really came together to help them get more information on what this might have been. So kind of a crazy case, right?
It's such a terrible story. You know, the man was just simply doing his job. We talked with the realtor this morning, actually, the head of a realtor association, who were talking about, you know, some of the things that you don't think about with folks that show homes. And a lot of times they're the only person who may be in that property at the time. You know, if you have whether it's an open house, I guess, or whether it's a set appointment, you never know who's going to show up. And so she was talking about some of the steps that she takes to make sure that she stays as safe as possible. In a lot of cases, she won't even tell people, you know, openly what's going on, but she will tell her loved ones, look, I'm going to this house, I'll be there until this amount of time. You know, if you don't hear from me, this is what's on my agenda for the day, so that, you know, she knows that if she's, you know, if they don't hear from her for some point, try to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
I just think it's terrible, though.
It's awful.
I mean, this man went to work. You know, he is sitting in a model home, and I don't know, I love to go visit those homes. He's no doubt greeting this person as he would anybody else coming in to look at a home, and then this unfolds. It's just, it makes you really wonder, like, what in the world is society coming to? It really bothers me. I mean, it really does. Totally unaware, just completely in an environment that should be optimistic, people looking at homes, you know, single people, families, couples, whatever, dreaming about what could be in this different home. And here's somebody sitting there ready to answer all your questions, ready to just welcome you in. Sure, look around, you know, this, I mean, anybody who's visited these model homes or just, you know, homes for sale. And maybe it's because I'm like just looking around, just dreaming myself of, you know, maybe trying to look for another place. And I know how they greet you. And it's just, I'm very glad that this person is off the street. I'm very glad.
And you talk about not just doing his job, but you've seen that photo of him. That, I mean, he's a 33-year-old father, and I mean, a little baby that he's holding there, and, you know, he's just trying to provide for his family by doing
Oh,
his
he
job.
is holding a child. I didn't even see that.
And, you know,
despicable.
Right.
And
so,
I'm glad this has come to a quick end.
Yeah, so the person arrested, 18 years old.
Yeah, not a lot of details either in sort of how he died. They just said he was faced with trauma or something. That's all they know. So
They said it was pretty obvious trauma.
wow,
Lives. I mean,
it's really scary.
Teenager's life is over too. Like, what would lead you? I mean, I don't know. I won't pretend to know what was going on through this person's mind, but what would make you do that? Like,
What kind of area is that too? Is that was that like a nice cul-de-sac? I can't.
well, it's out in Anne Arundel County, right? And it's like as when I think of Anne Arundel County, it's just like a bedroom suburb type of thing. It looks like a beautiful street, a home, you know, nice and shiny and new. And I'm just not sure what goes through the mind. Like, let me go in and try to take advantage of somebody who might be in here alone. There's just so many troubling things at every turn.
Yeah, but look at the other big crime story that's in Washington, D.C. today of somebody that literally went into somebody's house while they were asleep, abducted them at gunpoint or a knife point, and forced them to leave the house, go to the corner store, and take out $200.
That story is insane.
It was a couple, and the couple went with the guy. I mean, this is ridiculous.
What they must have been going through. Like, I mean, because you definitely, if I'm in that position, and I don't know about you guys, I'm thinking this might be my last day. You know what I mean? How
put yourself in the position of you are asleep with your spouse and your dog.
Yeah.
And the dog didn't do anything.
Barking, and then you look up and there's a man in your bedroom
with a
holding
knife,
and you're waking up from a sound sleep.
I can't.
And that person is just like, give me what you have. And you say, I have nothing. And he's like, okay, then come with me. We're going to the store.
The only saving grace with that entire story is the fact, well, two parts. They were able to keep their cool. I don't know how.
I know.
And secondly, that criminal just wanted the money and left them with their lives. Those are the only. But the trauma. I mean, I'm gonna tell you honestly, this might be too much information, and I know I told you when it happened, but once my mother was my kid's caregiver all those years, bless her heart, and she came in the house. She had a key, and I was sleeping, dead sleep, before I came into work. She scared me so much, just the presence. I could not speak. That's how that fear thing that kicked in. And this is my mother, but awakened from like a dead sleep.
Really?
You know, with like, hey, and I will just never forget that moment because I've thought about it like, what if there was somebody who was there to do harm? Like, I am thinking, you know, you got to snap into action and not be paralyzed. But to then wake up with this person with the knife threatening, it's just unimaginable. Like, it's just unimaginable.
You're trying to dissect the criminal mind. It just, in either of those
it's
cases,
desperation.
It makes no sense
you know, it's whatever they're going through, mental illness. It's drugs. It's but when it's my house that you're breaking into like that, honestly, please don't bring it here. And I'm just happy they're alive.
It was scary to see that footage this morning, and if you missed it, it's on our website, fox5dc.com. But this personal thing, my really good girlfriend Danielle, I don't know if you're watching, but I just texted her. She lives on that strip right now across from Gallaudet with her husband. She's just a solo couple and her dog. So I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh. And I saw the footage. It didn't really look like them, but I texted her immediately and she was like, oh my gosh, that's so close. Let me look into this. So that and I've been to her house for like a cookout before. So I know where she is, and it's like a normal little, you know, but interesting that was the one house that didn't have bars on it, which is really important too. So.
And he got in through an open window.
That it would scare me to live there and not have those bars. So that was crazy. Also today, it's the anniversary of Pearl Harbor. So a lot of, you know, we just had earlier, one of the veterans was speaking from the Intrepid Museum in New York City, which is like the Maritime Naval Museum up there. And yeah, it's 77 years. So also another DC connection, they've only now like identified some of the bodies, and so they're interring one of them at Arlington today. We should have it live later in the afternoon, but the numbers out of that whole thing is crazy, and it's the 77th year. So
I just actually posted a picture on Twitter.
Did?
Go to it. I just went to Pearl Harbor last month for the first time, and I had never been there before.
Right, you were there.
It was just, I don't even know the words to describe it.
It's hallowed ground. It's sacred ground.
You know, it's so kind of awe-inspiring to feel, I guess, not necessarily even to see, but just to try to understand and comprehend what happened there 77 years ago today. And it's.
This was you?
It's yeah. So that was a man who was a survivor, who was actually signing books, and what they do is they will have some of the survivors who still live in Hawaii, who are will volunteer, and they'll be available to talk to visitors and sign some books to people. So that was Mr. Lee, and it's just so powerful. It's, first of all, it was not, and I don't know how many people have been there before or not, but it was not what I expected at all when I first got there, because
smaller than you thought.
The harbor itself was much smaller than I thought.
I've been there, smaller.
And,
really?
Much more inland than I thought. So you could really see how it played out, and how when the attack happened, how they were able to essentially seal off the harbor, because it's much more inland and much more constrained than I ever would have expected it would be. You hear harbor, I think, I don't know, the Inner Harbor in Baltimore, or the New York Harbor, or the Long Island Harbor, or something where it's just a huge open space, and it's not that at all. It's very small. And so you understand how they could have, completed the attack, but at the same time to just look out over it, and it's kind of like on a Civil War battlefield, I guess, here around DC, and you just look out at the field and you try to imagine how could this have happened in this space. You have this beautiful space, and then these absolutely terrible things happen. So one of the things that's interesting this year about this particular anniversary is, unfortunately, when you think of 77 years ago, an 18-year-old kid who had signed up for the military would be 95. So all your survivors are going to be 95 or older, unless they lied about their age to enlist. And this is the first time that there will not be any survivors from the Arizona.
Oh, really?
At the remembrance ceremony in Pearl Harbor today, because there are only 5 who are still living, and none of them live in Hawaii. And one gentleman tried to make it. He's been there in years past, and he wanted to go again this year. He's 97 years old, and he lives in California, and his doctor finally told him, you can't make that flight anymore. And apparently he put up a little bit of a fight because he wanted to go, and his doctors had to tell him, you just can't do it. You can't do it. So this will be the first year that there won't be any survivors from the Arizona. And then interestingly, from the Oklahoma, which is a little bit lesser known, there were like over 400 or so deaths, but only 36 were identified in the coming days after that attack. So slowly by slowly, they've been able to kind of identify more and get more information, but it's just so mysterious. That one was tragic, because that's that was the battleship. That was the only battleship that rolled over. And so, the problem with the Arizona, whether somebody does on the Arizona, is that the torpedo hit a munitions point of the boat and just created this huge explosion. And that's the giant fireball that you see if you watch any of the films or anything like that, because they essentially hit a part of the ship that was loaded up with explosives.
Yeah.
And so that was a giant explosion.
Oklahoma.
And
Arizona. That was a big one.
The Oklahoma was part of the shock, tipped that. And so the entire boat essentially tipped over, and then that trapped so many people inside the boat that was now inverted in the water. And so it took a very long time for them to even, get in there to try to get to some of those folks. And that was one of the more horrific things from the accounts, when you go there and you watch the films and you hear the living histories and everything, because for a long period of time, these were people who did not perish instantly, and they could hear the tapping of people that were still alive inside, but trapped in the hull that was flipped over, trying to find a way to get through the steel and get into, to get to those people. So
wow, that's crazy. Awesome. That must have been really cool to read that history there.
Yeah, but it's interesting too, because you learn that it's not just the harbor too, but all the first wave took out all the planes on the airfield, which is nearby. So and then there were other airfields in the midsection of the island that were far away from Pearl Harbor. So essentially, there were all these targeted raids to take out essentially every military installation on the island of Oahu. And then Pearl Harbor, of course, is where the battleships were all lined up in a row. So there was only one that made it at least partway out of the harbor. So just terrible.
So interesting. Yeah. So again, today they'll bury, I guess, one of the guys that they've identified now. So 77 years later. Yeah. Let's talk about Kevin Hart and the Oscars. So I know you guys kind of talked about this all morning. I found out on BuzzFeed because they always have it first, I think, last night. But what do you guys think? So he's pulling out as Oscar host.
I wish that Kevin Hart had, when the Academy came out and said, need to apologize. I wish that he had, again, apologized, said that he has apologized in the past.
But do you think it would have made a difference, to be honest, though? Because I feel the way that this seems to have come up is that it seems like once the announcement was made, that there were people who wanted to make this statement that knew what he said years ago, brought that to the surface. And I feel like if the Academy said, Kevin, you need to apologize, and then he apologizes, I feel like those who felt strongly enough to resurface these videos would not have accepted that apology.
Well, I don't know. I feel like
that campaign would have continued and the pressure would have continued. So I feel like Kevin Hart is just saying,
but to step down then?
Saying, okay, look, this is me. If you don't like who I am, in my mind, I was making jokes years ago, and if you don't like who I am, then fine, I won't be a part of it.
But I don't know. I mean, I feel like he was the one who did something that was problematic. So if it comes up again, then you just say, yes, I take full responsibility. I'm not this person anymore. I thought it was part of my routine. I thought it was a joke, blah, blah, blah.
But again,
I am sorry. But
you sound like a fixer right now. And there are some celebrities who want to listen to the fixers to avoid the damage control.
Right.
Based on what Kevin Hart did 2 weeks ago with his Cowboys and Indians birthday party.
Yeah.
Not apologizing for it, saying, look, this is who I am, take it or leave it. I'm just saying, I feel like Kevin Hart is the kind of person that doesn't want to fix it right now.
Right.
That doesn't want to hear that from somebody and say, okay, let me go by the playbook here, apologize, move on with life, and things will be better. I feel like he's just like, no, this is me. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. Well,
so
that's what he did.
Do you think it's time to go back to the old classic comedians as Oscar hosts? I mean,
I think
the old neutral,
problematic people who could do it. What's Wanda Sykes doing? Shout out to you, Hampton University. What's Wanda doing? You know what I mean? There are plenty of unproblematic comedians who are still funny, edgy, hot, whatever. You know what I mean? Get one of them to do it. It's like Hollywood. First of all, Kevin Hart had these tweets out. He would go on to make a ton of money, become the most popular that he's been in his ever-evolving career. Best friends with The Rock, buddy movies and all that. So Hollywood looked pretty hypocritical in that moment. And I hear what you're saying. He was like, nope, you knew this, it's been out there, whatever. So fine. Kevin Hart yesterday, there are plenty of unproblematic comedians who are available. And like I said, Wanda Sykes is one of them. Whoever else, I guess they wanted, thankfully, to have a little bit of diversity as far as what the hosting goes. So I can think of plenty of people. What's
But I feel
my
like,
man
I
doing?
feel like
What's
whoever they pick though is going to get scrutiny from somebody else.
Yeah, but
because I feel like there's just a subset of the population that likes to raise an issue.
Trevor
with
Noah.
anybody
What's
who you
Trevor
put up
Noah
there.
doing?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I feel like if you put Trevor Noah up, trust me, I'm not saying you're going to find anything on Trevor Noah, but I guarantee there will be people that will be looking for something.
Well, yeah, they'll be looking, but you know, to float homophobic jokes is pretty specific. You know what I mean? To float like homophobic, sexist, racist, making fun of people with intellectual disability, those are pretty specific and egregious issues that we still face in society. So those is that's what I'm talking about being problematic. There are plenty of people who haven't told you know, a racist joke or a homophobic joke that are available. So they're just some things that as a society I think we're on one hand trying to move away from, and that's one of them. You know, marginalizing people in the LGBT.
Some people were saying it's kind of reminiscent of Eddie Murphy, who stepped down from the same job in 2011 for the 2012.
They're comedians. This is what I mean. It used to be in vogue to say, you know, the R word when you're talking about people. Now we know better, so now we don't do that anymore. But plenty of comedians, that's what, you know, that was fodder for jokes, talking about the gay issues.
But that's,
or
and I'm not taking this argument, but I will make this argument is that a lot of people will say, okay, if that was acceptable then, if somebody is not doing it now but did it then, do you still hold them accountable for doing it then? If it was
did
acceptable,
it to him.
Then that's my point. So then that weakens the playing field then.
But I'm saying there are other people who have never done it. There are plenty of people who have never done it.
Well,
and they could
the Oscars are going to have to find somebody. They don't have much time to do it.
I'm telling you, I'm giving them plenty of
ideas
right now. Right.
It'll be interesting to see.
If you're watching Academy, call Wanda. Right? I mean,
remember when she was here for the White House Correspondents' Dinner? It was like 09 or something, 10.
Right?
Yeah, she's so funny.
She is funny. And who's hotter than Trevor Noah right now?
He's big.
Who's hotter than him? So what about?
Yeah.
You know, the only thing he's ever called out is the wicked system of apartheid, and you know he's not a fan of the current administration, but you know.
Well, neither is Hollywood.
Neither is Hollywood. On a generic clinics, what's a big fan of the current
True.
But if you look at the speeches that we've seen in past award shows, I'm saying that.
It's been so different lately.
Right.
It's a different time.
It is. I mean, it's just, you know. So I don't know. They can find unproblematic people. Should he have? I think just to answer the question, I think he should have again apologized. It's out there. He did it. Say, you know, I have moved on. I hope we can. And I'm not mad at the fact that he bowed out either. Like,
it was kind of fast too. I mean, it was they quickly announced it and then.
Right. He's taken a couple of blows. It was like.
Right.
The cheating scandal, then the
Cowboys and Indians.
And then this.
Oh, the cheating scandal! I totally forgot.
Yeah. He's
oh my
come out and
gosh.
said that was the worst.
That's right.
Yeah, the worst thing I ever did.
I just think that's just it's this thing.
It's life, but it's life.
He said
these people do their life out loud.
And he did apologize. He apologized for it after he dropped out of it. But in his non-apology, the non-apology was based on the fact that he said, "Look, I've addressed this so many times in the past. It keeps coming up again. I don't know how you want me to address this differently than I did in the past." And you know, as a person, that wears on you. And so, I think his line of thinking is, this is going to affect me as much as it's going to affect the Academy and the awards. So we're just going to step away from this at this point.
Right.
Take
My
the stress
thing is,
off
did
of
the
everybody.
Academy not hear about this? Did they not?
Well, maybe the Academy just thought that because he addressed it in the past that it was done, you know, and then now it came back up again. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, you got to ask them for that.
Right. It's interesting.
And we all know their history.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart is no longer hosting the Oscars.
So that's what I have today, guys. Happy Friday.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you?
We have 5 minutes.
You guys always want to stay here longer.
We love it over here, Molly.
What's that, Steve?
That's my sandwich that I haven't had a chance to eat yet. I've been carrying it around since 4:45
morning. You make it in the morning, and then you.
I actually made it last night. If you care to know the details, and put it in the fridge and picked it up at 4:30 this morning, and I haven't yet.
It's amazing.
Well, they're giving me hate because I didn't have
good.
any jelly, so it's just peanut butter on bread, and apparently that's it.
I eat peanut butter out of the jar. I love peanut butter.
Okay, well, then you don't hate the peanut butter on bread.
I don't.
The diaper drive to go to our website,
Oh, sure.
and find a donation. I just saw some of the donations that we've already received from the area. Amazing.
Good.
Amazing.
Tell us more about the drive again.
Yeah, so it basically, we're asking our folks, our, you know, the viewers, the watchers, the listeners, to donate diapers, however many, big or small, in a pack, at these different drop-off locations throughout the city. And you can find the locations on our website, fox5dc.com. And then they go to the DC Diaper Bank. So it might just be in DC, but anyway, check. I don't know all the listings of the places.
Oh, I think we'll take them from anywhere, but I think they just donate them to the DC Diaper
okay.
Bank.
So they all go to the DC Diaper Bank, and it helps families that, you know, need a little help affording the bare necessities. And I'm talking about diapers. And as a mom, I can tell you, like, the panic at 2 a.m. reaching, and then, oh no, we're out of diapers. But some of us have the luxury of hopping in the car and going to buy diapers. Is not a big thing. But if you're down to your last couple of dollars until payday, or you're trying to stretch it or whatever, your baby needs their diaper changed and you don't have one. And so we're just trying to just sort of step in the gap a little bit and help the DC Diaper Bank, which does a good job all year round. But so look for our donation bins.
That's awesome.
Yeah, help somebody. Help somebody this holiday season. Yeah, there you go. So that's my pitch.
All right. Thanks, Al. Thank you, guys.
Have a super weekend.
You too. Yeah.
Get the holiday decorations up if you didn't do it yet.
We got a snowstorm coming to North Carolina.
I know.
My brother's down there, so I'm
18
like,
inches in Asheville, which is
ooh, in the mountains.
Yeah, but I think it's like 12 or 13 in Charlotte. Which when does that happen?
Yeah, in Charlotte, right? I know. My brother's in Durham, so I was like texting him, like, guess what? I sent him your tweet, and he was like, I didn't even see that. Okay.
Hopefully it didn't get that much.
Yeah, we'll see.
They know how to deal with it even less than we know how to deal with it. So
yeah, you're right.
And we still don't know how to deal with it.
So, All right, President Trump's on the tarmac in Kansas City, so we're gonna jump over there.
Have a great weekend,
Bye.
everybody.
All right, in just about 30 short minutes, we'll see President Trump making those remarks at the Project Safe Neighborhoods conference that's in Kansas City, Missouri, where he'll probably also be campaigning a little bit in that. So we'll pull out of that tarmac shot right there, and we're going to go over to some more commemoration of the 77th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. We'll take you over there now. Take a look.
Who's your new roommate? Anybody you know? Oh, good. Is she a PD or a prosecutor? Or a private?
I think she's PD. Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
It's not Teal Takayama, is it?
No. She's from here, but she took Luna, maybe, I don't know.
Local to Pools Alley.
She might be like something.
I've been mistaken as a Portuguese.
No way, really?
This weird lady that works at my wife's school.
Oh, I thought she was Portuguese. I saw Olena last night.
Oh, yeah?
She's like, yeah, guess who I am? And I'm like, okay, well, Hawaiian, Japanese, Hawaiian.
Jewish.
I had no idea.
Your
She's
mom's
Chinese and Jewish, yeah.
Yeah, because her maiden name's Reuben.
Oh, Hugh
Hugh is her married name.
Oh.
She was Elena Reuben.
Okay,
She got married.
yeah, okay, if I knew that was her maiden name.
Yeah, you're done, yeah.
Well, no, just so I can grab.
I wonder where the blind man thing's gonna go. I know. It's gotta be.
It's great to be able to do some service for the community.
For many, Salvation Army bell ringers like Wally Waisopol
Merry Christmas.
are the sounds of the season.
Thanks for giving us Salvation Army.
But during a time of year that's supposed to be about giving, a pair of thieves decided to take from those less fortunate.
I think that's just terrible, but we can't let that ruin our Christmas spirit.
The Blaine Police Department is trying to identify the people in this video stealing a Salvation Army kettle at the Cub Foods near the Northtown Mall on Tuesday afternoon. Investigators say the two were armed with bolt cutters and committed the crime in broad daylight in front of a busy store before taking off in a gray or silver Chevy Trailblazer.
Right away, the term that came to mind when it was reported to us, we have a Grinch out there, two Grinches out there, mind you, and someone would do this. It's really the principle of it too, regardless of how much was in the kettle at the time. Why would someone do this to people? It's just disappointing.
Major Roger Dolaber with the Salvation Army says the kettle ringer hadn't shown up for his shift when the theft occurred and doesn't believe there was much money in the stolen kettle. Doliber also says crimes like this are not common, even though someone stole another kettle that was without a bell ringer in Oakdale on Friday.
I think they need to think about the people that they're stealing from and just have a heart and put a stop to it. Turn yourself in.
That's the biggest box of Cheez-Its I've ever seen in my life.
Weisopel says that's one way the people in the video can ring in the holiday season.
Well, I hope they are able to find the people and they get the money back, and maybe they can do some restitution and give back and ring the bell for a few hours.
20-year-old Joni Hamilton is charged with aggravated assault with intent to commit murder and child cruelty. The Austell woman worked at a daycare. Smyrna police say it was nap time at Oxford Babies on Church Street. One of the babies, a 16-month-old girl, wasn't sleepy. Police say Hamilton went into a rage, first grabbing the baby's head and shoving it into a mat. Then officers say it got worse.
She picks the kid up and slams the kid on the ground and causes a laceration to the lip, which bleeds everywhere.
But actually slams the baby on the ground.
Yeah.
Investigators say that's what got Hamilton the charge of aggravated assault with intent to commit murder.
We have seen child deaths from this type of action. We're very lucky, and the parents are very lucky that this child did not lose her life.
Daycare owner Cindy Smith says Hamilton was just hired a few months ago. The daycare released a statement saying the teacher was fired immediately. Prior to her being hired, the teacher passed all background checks and had no prior history of improper behavior. As parents picked up their children Wednesday night, they were aware of the arrest but did not want to comment. Investigators say the parents of the little girl who was injured took her straight to the doctor to be checked out.
There was no signs of concussion or broken bones or anything like that, so it's a very lucky situation.
Yeah, very lucky. It could have been so much worse.
Yeah.
From the start of the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election to its current status. In just a few hours, more testimony from the former FBI director and an update from the special counsel.
President.
Another installment of special counsel Robert Mueller's gradual unveiling of his findings. Through court filings, the special counsel's office is due to reveal details of how it says former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort lied after agreeing to a plea deal. Mueller's office is also expected to detail Michael Cohen's cooperation with the special counsel as it files sentencing memos for President Trump's former attorney.
The fact is that Bob Mueller is not going to lay out his entire case in the context of a sentencing memorandum. I think he's going to say at a pretty high level what happened. We may get some tidbits. There may be some news nuggets embedded in there, but this is not going to be a full reveal by Bob Mueller.
The investigation of Russian interference into the 2016 election began with the FBI under former Director James Comey. This morning, he'll testify before the House Judiciary Committee about his handling of that and of the investigation into former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's private email server. At first, Comey challenged the Republican subpoena to appear in a private session. He wanted to testify publicly. Republicans rejected that.
Why Jim Comey, who the last time I was in a public hearing with him, over 100 times he said, I cannot answer in this setting. Why Mr. Transparency wants to go back to a setting where he knows he cannot answer the questions is befuddling to me, and I don't think my fellow citizens buy that.
Comey agreed to drop the suit when Republicans assured him they would release the transcript and that he could speak publicly about the interview after it concludes. In Washington, Rich Edson, Fox News.
On one of the speakers.
In order to preserve the dignity of the solemn ceremony, please silence all electronic devices, including those welcome to today's Joint National Park Service United States Navy National Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day ceremony. I'm Jason Blunt, Chief of Interpretation for World War II Valor in the Pacific National Monument. Attack 75 years ago, in 1943, American service members were advanced around the world unconquered. They were achieving victory against tyranny. They were building confidence, cooperation, and commitment with the Allied forces. They were forging the future. Today we pay tribute to those members of the greatest generation who rose to the challenge, beginning here in Pearl Harbor and on Oahu, in the name of freedom in order to achieve a more peaceful world. Will guests please rise as able for the arrival of the official party? The official party for today's ceremony includes Ms. Jacqueline Aswell, Superintendent, World War II, Valor in the Pacific National Monument, National Park Service. Navy Region Hawaii and Naval Surface Route Middle Pacific arriving. Indo-Pacific Command arriving. Yes, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, it is customary on December 7th that we observe a moment of silence at 7:55 to commemorate the beginning of the attacks on Oahu. At 7:55, the USS Michael Murphy will sound their ship's whistle to begin the moment of silence. Completing the moment
of silence will be F-22 Raptors from the 199th
Fighter Squadrons, known as the Hawaiian Raptors, executing a missing man flyover
formation just beyond the USS Arizona Memorial and over Ford Island. In honor of all of those who lost their lives in defense of their country 77 years ago today, the missing man formation was first used by the United States military in 1938. While aircraft have evolved and modernized since then, the concept of paying tribute to the fallen with this aerial salute is still used at funerals and memorials today. You may see one aircraft pull away from the formation and fly high into the clouds to honor the lives lost on December 7th. This tactic of a aircraft pulling away from the crew was not part of the original
formation, but has come to be a routine
since the end of World War II. The lost comrade departing, our humanity, and the mission of being continued. The gap in the formation symbolizes our fallen comrades.
For all that we shall remember their sacrifice. Ladies and gentlemen,
at this time, please bow your heads for a moment of silence to honor the events that occurred at this moment 77 years ago today.
Ignition sequence start. All engines are running.
We have taken tremendous steps.
Retire the colors. Yes, please be seated.
It is customary
For ships passing the USS Arizona Memorial to pay their respects by rendering honors. Approaching, you will see the Army class Added Missile Destroyer, the USS Michael Murphy, commanded by Commander Kevin Lewis, who graduated from the United States Naval Academy with the class of 2000. Today, in addition to rendering honors to the USS Arizona crew, still entombed in their watery grave, the USS Michael Murphy will also render honors to Pearl Harbor survivors and World War II veterans who have gathered with us today.
Michael Murphy, the Protector, recently returned from deployment. The USS Michael Murphy was forward deployed to the U.S. 7th.
News, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call Station 4.
All right, having a little bit of trouble with that stream from Honolulu, Hawaii, but those ceremonies, of course, remembering the 77th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. And in relation to that, right back here in the D.C. area in Arlington today, there are burial services just about underway. We're going to bring you over there live in just a moment for a Naval Service member from Wisconsin who was killed in that attack way back 77 years ago. So finally, they've been able to re-identify and identify bodies that were killed in that attack, where many of them were not identified even days, weeks, months, and years after that in 1941. So now they have re-identified this naval seaman, First Class William Brusewitz of Appleton, Wisconsin, and they're burying him today at Arlington National Cemetery right around the corner from us. So we're going to go right over to that stream and show you pictures there on the burial ground where this ceremony will be. Meanwhile, the ceremony does continue over in Honolulu, so we're going to split screen this for you so we can try to catch both of them simultaneously here ahead of the president speaking in Kansas City, Missouri. So we'll try to bring all of that to you live. Here's the ceremony in Hawaii.
Our eternal and loving Heavenly Creator, good morning to you. On this very beautiful and sacred day, we ask your aloha and your blessings upon every single one here, more especially for the men and women and their families of all of our military branches of service. They are very, very special indeed, handpicked by you to select their future, their beginning, and their retiring years. For many are the retired here in our audience today are the great veterans of these walks through life. We ask thy sacred blessings especially upon the wives and the families of all of our military branches of services, for they are just as great as heroes as everyone else. And Heavenly Father, we come humbly before you to Mihi and ask your forgiveness if any of us have fallen short of our obligations to you. Please forgive us. The time to rise up and be a great nation continues. The time beginning again and again and again, always here in this sacred place, is to remind us of our past and to build for our future. And in order to do so, we must always beseech you to praise us, to guide us, to direct us, and to bless us. Heavenly Creator, upon all of us we ask thy sacred hand touch us all, of all faiths and all religions and of all beliefs. May we humbly ask also that you bless a very special blessing for a very wonderful gentleman in Daniel Martinez, the historian of this wonderful place that perpetuates our culture and our heritage and a reminder of who we all are. Humbly I ask these things, no kamer, no kiaupuni, amekamana, kaho'omani, amalo atu. Amen and amen. Mahalo. For the past 37 years, the Japanese Religious Committee for World Federation has offered a prayer for peace on this occasion. We are honored to have them here once again as part of this year's ceremony. Reverend Suni Koyo Tanaka will offer the prayer, followed by the English translation by Ms. Mihara.
真珠湾攻撃から77年を迎える今日、日米両国間に勃発した不幸な戦争によってお亡くなりになった多くの人々の御霊に対し、謹んで哀悼の誠を捧げますとともに、関係各位のご尽力により、核も厳粛かつ盛大に慰霊式典が挙行されますことに衷心より敬意を表する次第であります。私たち世界連邦日本宗教委員会は、それぞれ宗教者、信仰者がお互いの宗旨宗派の垣根を越えて相集い、心を一つに世界平和を祈り、その実現のために日々活動しています。今から36年前の1982年5月、本会と米国の宗教者が協力し、ニューヨークの聖ヨハネ大聖堂で、日米宗教者会議が開催されました。その時の日本側代表団長が我が母父田中文清であり、私も参加しておりましたが、その木とここパールハーバーに立ち寄った私たちは、粛々と頭を垂れ、慰霊の祈りを捧げました。それは日本の宗教者として当然の務めであるという宗教者たちが共有する強い意志からであったように思われます。その時以来、我々は毎年欠かすことなく、この慰霊式典に参列させていただき、今年で37回目を数えることになりました。一昨年の2016年12月には、その長年の活動を認めていただき、当時のオバマ大統領と安倍首相により日米両国の和解と寛容の精神を 世界に発信した共同声明の場に招待いただき、歴史的な場面に立ち会うことができました。さらに今年は毎年日本の各地で開催している宗教者、信仰者が集まる大規模な大会を第40回記念として、つい先日の12月5日、海を越えて念願であったここハワイの地で開催させていただきました。日本国とアメリカ合衆国、両国の戦没者に対し、毎年慰霊の誠を捧げていると同時に、同地において、両国の宗教者、信仰者が共に集い、世界平和の祈りを捧げたことは大変意義深いものがあったと感じております。ハワイは日本とのご縁が深く、本年はハワイ日系移民150年という節目の年にも当たっております。77年前のあの時を境にして、日米両国は悲劇と苦難に見舞われました。今ここに集い、共に祈りを捧げる私たちの姿は、たとえ一度は敵味方に分かれたとしても、やがては親しい友、親睦、貧しい同胞のように、互いを思いやり、信じ合うことができるようになるのだということを改めて私たちに確信されてくれます。人類は未だテロや紛争、貧困、環境破壊といった様々な困難に直面し、私たちの理想とする世界の平和とは程遠い状況にありますが、だからこそ私たちは先人から受け継いできた英知を結集し、共存共栄と相互敬愛の精神をもって、一日も早い真の世界平和と全人類の幸福実現のために、宗教者、信仰者として共に祈り、力を捧げることをここにお誓い申し上げます。
This year makes the 77th year since the attack of Pearl Harbor. We are here to honor and pay our respect to those who sacrificed their lives when our country suffered the tragedy. I am humbled and honored to stand with you in this solemn and grand memorial ceremony. We, the Japanese Religious Committee for the World Federation, have members from different religions and faiths. We vow to everything in our power to bring true peace. 36 years ago in May 1982, my late father, Tanaka Fumikyo, was the president and participated in the Japan-America Religion Conference in New York. On the way back to Japan, they stopped at Pearl Harbor to pray for peace and offer his condolences. Each year since then, we have been welcomed and honored to be here. In December 2016, we were fortunate to witness Japan's Prime Minister Abe and the former President Obama announce to the world the importance of resilience and the strength of reconciliation. Each year, we hold the National Convention of Religious Leaders and Followers at various places in Japan. 2 days ago, on December 5th, we were fortunate to have celebrated our 40th anniversary here in Hawaii. Religious leaders of Japan and US all gathered in the name of world peace and prayed for those who sacrificed their lives for their countries. Hawaii and Japan have very strong ties. This year makes the 150th anniversary of the Japanese immigration to Hawaii. Although 77 years ago today, our countries face many challenges.
Bill is supremely qualified, highly respected at the Department of Justice, and will continue to support the men and women in blue. I commend the President for this excellent choice. Much progress has already been made under the President's leadership. Crime is down and police morale is up. And we're just getting started. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our nation's highest law enforcement officer, the President of the United States.
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. I want to also thank Matt for the introduction. He's doing an excellent job, really a leader, strong leader. I was also thrilled to announce earlier today that I am nominating, as Matt said, William Barr to take the helm as our new Attorney General. He's an outstanding man. Bill previously led the Justice Department with distinction as Attorney General under George H.W. Bush, following his unanimous confirmation by the United States Senate. During his tenure, he demonstrated an unwavering adherence to the rule of law, which the people in this room like to hear. There's no one more capable or more qualified for this role. He deserves overwhelming bipartisan support. I suspect he'll probably get it. I'm honored to be in Kansas City with the incredible men and women of law enforcement. I've been here a lot over the last couple of months. The U.S. attorneys, state, local prosecutors, police officers, sheriffs, deputies, and federal agents who keep our country safe. You keep America safe. And you maybe don't hear it enough or sometimes don't feel it enough. You do an incredible job. The people in this country know it and they love you. Just remember that. So true. On behalf of a grateful nation, I just want to say that we thank you, we salute you, and we stand with you 100%, all of us, me and all of us. We're here today to restore one of the most effective crime prevention strategies in America, Project Safe Neighborhoods. This initiative brings law enforcement, community groups, and local leaders together to get the most violent criminals in the most dangerous areas off the streets and behind bars. After many years of neglect, we are bringing back this life-saving program stronger than ever before. Today is the first nationwide meeting of Project Safe Neighborhoods in 8 years. And here with us is the man who started this visionary project all the way back in 2001, former Attorney General John Ashcroft. Where's John? Where's John? Great John. I've been here a lot lately, John, huh? Been here a lot. That's good. Thank you. Thank you for a great job. I also want to thank two members of my administration who are doing tremendous work. The head of ATF, Thomas Brandon, and the acting DEA administrator, Uttam Dillon. Please. Thank you, fellas. We're also joined by a great representative of the state, Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler. Helps me a lot. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Vicky. And we are especially excited to have with us the man who is your state's current Attorney General and newly elected United States Senator. That's why I've been here so much lately. Josh Hawley. Josh, thank you, Josh. And I will tell you, Josh really stepped up to the plate. You know, in life, you never know. You pick somebody, looks good, sounds good, think he's smart, and then they choke. They choke like dogs. And you say, what did I do? I picked the wrong person. Well, we saw a lot about Josh, and we thought he'd be great. And I'll tell you, he had a tough race against a very tough competitor. You know that. And he was absolutely fantastic. So I just want to congratulate you. And, you know, I keep listening to the fake news that they won the House. Nobody ever talks about the Senate. We won the Senate easily. In fact, we picked up 2. And that hasn't been done in a long time. For a person as president, you just, for whatever reason, that doesn't happen very often. And we have the Senate now 53 to 47. And we're very proud of that. But you never hear that. You only hear the House. And the nice part about having the Senate is when you have the Senate, your judges, you know, we've appointed many, many judges. We're just about at a record clip ever. And by the time I finish, we should have the all-time record, except, of course, on a percentage basis. You know who the best of all was, right? George Washington. 100%. He picked 100% of the judges. That's the only one that I won't be beating. Can never beat George. He's tough. 100%. I asked that question. I say, who had the greatest percentage of judge picks? And so far, I haven't had too many people guess it. But as soon as I say it, they say, I can't believe I didn't think of that. Finally, we are grateful to the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Missouri, Timothy Garrison. Where's Timothy? Timothy. Thank you, Timothy. Great job, Tim. Along with a very well-known person, Kansas City Police Chief Rick Smith, for hosting today's event. Thank you very much, fellas. Thank you, Rick. Thank you. Everyone here today is committed to the same vital goal: liberating our communities from crime and securing the right of all citizens to live in safety and to live in peace. In the 2 years before I took office, the violent crime rate increased by 7%, and murders were up by over 20%. But we're turning it around very quickly, much quicker than anyone thought possible. At the core of our strategy is restoring respect for law enforcement. There's nobody that deserves respect more than you people, that I can tell you. For too long, many politicians and radical activists have been smearing and slandering our police, making life easier for criminals and harder for law-abiding Americans. We will not tolerate attacks on the heroes who protect our streets and defend our communities. We will not allow it to happen. My administration has also made officer safety a top priority. We will protect those who protect us, and we will believe the right punishment, and we all do, for cop killers is called the death penalty. And you know, in some circles, that's very controversial to say that. You have all of the television cameras rolling back there. For me, it's not even a little bit controversial. You kill a cop, and it's called the death penalty, okay? At the same time, we are ensuring you have the resources you need to do your jobs properly. We have added nearly 200 new violent crime prosecutors across the country. We have made more than $600 million worth of surplus military equipment available to law enforcement that, as you know, the previous administration would not allow you to have. It was sitting in storage houses and warehouses all over the country, getting old and gaining dust. Beautiful stuff, and they didn't like it because it made you look too strong. And I liked it because it made you safe. And now it's been distributed all over the country to the police, and you're using it very well and very judiciously, and we appreciate it. We increased funding for Project Safe Neighborhoods to $50 million this year, and we're asking Congress to add an additional increase for next year that will happen. We secured $6 billion in new funding to combat opioids, the most in history. And speaking of that, Kellyanne Conway is here, a very special person. Where's Kellyanne? Is she around here someplace? Stand up, Kellyanne. She's worked so hard with Melania, the First Lady, and they're working very hard. And
I want to take a quick moment to jump into this burial ceremony here at Arlington National Cemetery. This is a first-class seaman from the Navy, later identified in the many months and years after the attack on Pearl Harbor. And now they're commemorating this anniversary with a full burial ceremony, this interment here at the cemetery in Arlington. Check it out.
Arlington National Cemetery. Claims to consult one source describing the donation to a holy and sacred place. Here we reside in the heart of our
resurrection, eternal life, stop the shooter. So I beg your pardon, I didn't catch the question. Both men entered the bar nearly simultaneously. Sergeant Healis happened to be between the CHP officer and the gunman. They were in together.
Is the reason you're not releasing whether the bullet entered through the front or the back because you don't know, or is there another reason that that's not being released?
That's a level of detail that I'm not prepared to release at this time.
Why? Because you don't know, or why?
I do know.
And why not release that?
Because this is what we're prepared to release at this time, and those details will be forthcoming. If I may, just to draw a distinction here, the report that's been released today is from the FBI's Firearms and Tool Marks Unit, which matches a particular round to a particular rifle. The FBI Evidence Response Team that was here in support of the Sheriff's Office in this investigation also brought out a shooting incident reconstruction team. And many of the questions that have been directed today are part of a much greater analysis that would be from that future report, not from the report that matches a specific round to a specific rifle. It also doesn't talk about the training that the officers have, and I think it's important to recognize what the report says, but also what the report doesn't say. And no laboratory report can be in the split-second decision-making process of two officers who join together, run to the sound of the gunfire, and then find themselves on the X with a determined gunman who has decided to ambush law enforcement officers. And that's really the totality of the circumstances that we have here. And the report that we have is one piece of the final circumstances and an unfortunate development in a greater investigation.
Is that report public? Going to be public at any time?
The report has been made available to the Sheriff's Department and CHP, and we will look at public disclosure in accordance with the federal laws and the laws of the state of California.
From the FBI's perspective in dealing with local partners, one of the things that seems chilling about this case is that law enforcement are now trained to engage active shooters, to go in and try to stop them. And if this is a situation where no training could make a difference, and when you're dealing with an active shooter situation, this is just something that can happen. Is that all that can be done in terms of training and dealing with these things from the FBI's perspective of looking at?
Well, for years now, law enforcement around the country have been engaged in what's called advanced law enforcement rapid response training, alert training, to put officers and agents from different agencies together in situations like this where they join up together to confront acts of violence where they are the first responders. Of course, that methodology is developed over 20 years since Columbine, but we insert into that the dedication of a gunman who's decided to commit violence, and you don't know how the results are going to turn out.
Thank you all very much. That concludes our press conference. We have PIOs that are available here if you need interviews. They're in uniform around the room. And again, we have a Spanish-speaking PIO if that's what your need is. Thank you again.
Pretty incredible, some of those new details from the Borderline bar shooting in Thousand Oaks, California from earlier this year. More details on the officers that went in and were under fire when they went into that situation, and obviously just the tragic outcome that ensued there. But those are more details from Ventura County Police and Sheriff's Office. And with that, guys, we will close out the stream on this Friday, December 7th. Thank you for joining us for the burial of that Pearl Harbor sailor. Pretty incredible to see those images, as well as some weather warnings for the Southern Virginia and North Carolina areas. We'll bring that map up on your screen. Have a great Friday, and we'll see you guys all on Monday.